You ever catch yourself doom scrolling and think, this isn't normal anymore? Yeah, same. And what if I told you that it all started during the pan? Yeah, can't even say the word because YouTube still doesn't like that. So, the pan locked us inside with nothing but Wi-Fi, fear, and infinite scroll, which, historically speaking, is how addictions are born. Not because people are weak, but because environments change faster than our brains can adapt.
If you've ever felt distracted or low-key dependent on your phone, it's not a personal failure, it's a predictable outcome. We talk about how we got here as a society and start to talk about the ways that we can step away from social media and the steps that it actually takes and the effects that it can bring you.
I come from a family with addiction, so I learned early that addiction isn't just about substances, it's about environment. This idea isn't new. 1970s, psychologist Bruce Alexander ran the rat park experiments, which showed that rats isolated in stressful environments consumed significantly more drugs than rats given social connection and stimulation. Same substance, different environment, totally different outcomes. The pan didn't just disrupt our routines, it rewired our environment, and by extension, our behavior. When the world shut down, our environment collapsed into four walls and a screen. And on that screen, a perfectly optimized dopamine delivery system. TikTok launched globally in 2020. Instagram Reels followed fast, and YouTube Shorts weren't far behind. This wasn't coincidence, it was escalation. Neuroscientist Dr. Lembke, author of Dopamine Nation, explained that dopamine spikes, they don't come from pleasure itself, but from anticipation. Infinite scroll is basically anticipation on a loop. We didn't understand how recommendation algorithms worked, how variable rewards increased impulsive behavior, how foreign ownership and data incentives shaped content, or how dopamine behaves when stimulation never stops. We just swiped, and then we swiped again, until 1 hour turned into 3, and 3 turned into an entire night. At the same time, influencer economies exploded. Ad systems optimized for emotional manipulation matured, and we were all isolated, scared, and searching for relief. From a systems perspective, it was a perfect storm. Here's the tricky part about addiction. It doesn't look dramatic at first. No rock bottom, no intervention, just symptoms. You're tired, but you keep scrolling. You're overstimulated, but you can't stop watching. Comparison creeps in, but your thumb keeps moving. Psychiatrist Dr. Adam Alter in Irresistible explains that modern addictions are designed to feel productive, social, and harmless until they quietly consume attention, mood, and self-regulation. That's why terms like doom scrolling, digital detox, and screen time anxiety suddenly entered the mainstream. People didn't suddenly lose discipline. They got stuck inside systems that were never neutral. So here's how I got out. And this part is what I'm proud of, but I'll be honest, it wasn't aesthetic. It wasn't cute, okay? And it wasn't overnight. I tracked my screen time. I paid attention to how I felt after scrolling, not during, but after. Eventually, I took the hardest step first. I got off TikTok.
Okay, and it's been about a year since I deleted TikTok, a month since I deleted Instagram, actively trying to get off of Instagram and coming to the conclusion to delete it was really never on my mind, but it actually helped a lot in reading a book called The 10 Arguments as to why you should delete your social media account, something like that, by Jaron Lanier. Definitely helped me see that great read because I learned a lot about social media that I never thought, even as a social media strategist, as a manager, it gave me a villain's look on the app, like a villain's perspective, basically, and it showed me the ugly side of it. So I was always kind of an advocate for it, knew that something bad was that it did something bad within me, but it really broke it down that it is quite intentional. And that is how they profit. And so, completely deleted Instagram, deleted Facebook about a month ago. And I thought that the world was going to keep spinning on without me, and it did. And I was able to realize, and it did. But the truth is, I was able to step away from it or from that version of the world. So when I stepped away, I realized two things. One, that there's obviously a lot more to life than living on social media, but reality is different when you stepped away from social media. And that's the second thing, that there is really two worlds. You have the virtual social world, social media version of the world, and then you actually have reality. We know that we don't really talk to each other the same way we do on social, whether that's in the comments or in a video. And when you step away from it, you actually get a chance to get communal again. You have a perspective. Everyone's not your enemy. It's a whole different perspective on the world when you spend less time in the digital space and you get back into reality. Yes, you go back into reality when you're done scrolling, but it's a different perspective, and taking it gives you a different experience on life. News still gets to me, but in a non-rage baity way. That's the news still gets to me, trends still get to me, and I also don't participate in the trend because I don't feel like I have to. It's just kind of one of those things that's just happening, and it's not happening to me, and I'm relieved that it's not. But yeah, things, things still get to me. It was a philosopher, I believe, and I'll put up her name, but basically, she says that, you're not really able to hear your own thoughts if you're constantly taking in everyone else's. And so it allowed me to hear my own voice again and learn really what that is and what my opinions are about things without having the rest of the world inundate me with theirs and me taking them on as my own. And so now what I'm going to get into next is a bit of the history behind how this has happened before and how that time period overcame similar aspects and how we can too. And I think it'll empower you to see that it's possible. I feel like it seems endless at times, like, oh, we're never going to get out of this, so we might as well just stay in it. And that's not true. That's not the case. And it is going to be true for some people, but that doesn't have to be you. And those people who continue down that path will continue to be manipulated and rage baited and the number of things and not having, thoughts to themselves. And so a number of things and they continue to live in that reality that is created when you do spend a significant amount of time, sometimes really any time on social media. And so, let's get into it. Let's take a look at some of the history and times that this has happened in the past and how this is nothing new. And per usual, we shall overcome. So, without further ado.
The printing press. Information overload. What happened? Well, when Gutenberg's printing press spread across Europe, information exploded overnight. Books, pamphlets, political tactics, suddenly everywhere. Public reaction was that people panicked. Scholars wrote about shortened attention spans, moral decay, people reading without supervision, quote unquote, too much information corrupting the mind. Why this matters? Because before this, knowledge was slow and gated. After it, people had to learn self-regulation for the first time. Marshall McLuhan later summarized this perfectly. Every new medium changes not just what we think, but how we think. Social media is the printing press on steroids, and the pen removed the gatekeepers, work, school, social rhythm. So the overload hit all at once. This wasn't the first time humanity was overwhelmed by a new information system. It was just the first time that it happened at algorithmic speed. Let's take the gin craze that happened in England in the 1700s, addiction as an environmental problem. Well, what happened was cheap gin flooded England. It was accessible, socially acceptable, and everywhere. Consumption skyrocketed, public health collapsed. The public reaction at first was blame the people. Later, historians realized the truth. The environment created the addiction. Once regulations, pricing, and social structures changed, consumption dropped dramatically. Why it maps? Well, social media during the pan was cheap, free, always available, socially normalized, and unregulated at scale, just like gin. The key insight is addiction spikes when access is unlimited, life is unstable, and coping systems are gone. This was 2020 in a sentence. History shows us that when addiction spreads quickly, it's rarely a moral failure. It's a systems failure. Let's take the radios and televisions in the 1930s through the 1950s. Mass attention became a commodity. What happened? Radio then entered home in mass. For the first time, corporations competed for attention. Programming was designed to hold focus. Advertising was moved into people's living rooms. The public reaction: parents worried, governments regulated, researchers studied screen time. Sound familiar? Why it matters? Well, social media didn't invent attention economics, it perfected it. TV trained people to sit. Social media trained people to never stop looking. The pan accelerated what took decades to normalize: screen-centered life. McLanagan quoted, "The medium is the message. It's not what we watch, it's what consistent watching does to us." Human biology evolves slowly, so when an environment changes fast, the gap between that slow evolution that's supposed to happen and that quick environmental change is where addiction lives. And then lastly, cigarettes and big tobacco in the 1900s. Addiction before awareness. What happened? Cigarettes were once advertised by doctors, sold as stress relief, normalized everywhere. Health consequences came later. The public reaction? Well, for decades, people didn't know the cost. By the time they did, habits were deeply embedded. Why it matters? Social media is in its early, quote unquote, early cigarette phase. Marketed as connection, sold as creativity, consequences still emerging. Just like tobacco, the danger wasn't obvious until it was. We didn't fail to predict the damage. We just didn't know the cost yet. This isn't the first time humans were overwhelmed by a new system. We saw it in the printing press. We saw it with gin. We saw it with cigarettes. The pattern is always the same. Access first, awareness later. If this resonated, like, share, and subscribe. And if you already started changing your relationship with social media, drop a comment on what's actually helped you. We're building healthier habits in real time. Sometimes honest story is enough to help someone else find their way out.